Hello students, hope you are doing good. Dear students, as we are dealing with Derek Walcott as a poet, and we have already discussed his two famous poems, A Far Cry from Africa and Dark August. Today, we are going to deal with his third poem, that is Crusoe's Journal. Before I tell you about the poem and its major themes, let me tell you briefly about Derek Walcott as a poet. Dear students, Derek Walcott originally belongs to St. Lucia, West Indies. And when we talk about his writing career, he was mainly influenced by two modern writers, Ezra Pound and T.S. Eliot. And he was also influenced by his friends writing who also belonged to America. They were Robert Lowell and Elizabeth Bishop. The students, because of his contribution for literature, because of his, I would say that, immense contribution for literature, he was also awarded with Nobel Prize in English Literature in 1992. You need to remember it. When we talk about his writing was mainly influenced by British colonialism and its negative effects on the indigenous population. Moreover, we also find that in his writing we often find such kind of, the references from Caribbean culture, language, history and complexities of identity. Right? So when we talk about the poem Crusoe's Journal, that poem was published in 1969 and it was published in his poetry collection called The Gulf and the Other Poems. So now let's talk about the poem. But before that, I would ask you a question that sometimes we are not happy with the system, with the social system. What we do? We often think about the place we should be, where we should not have any kind of external influence. We always, search for that kind of place where we can live a satisfactory and peaceful life. So in that way, in the same way, you will find in this poem that the poet Derek Walcott also looking for that kind of place. He is not happy with the system, he is not happy with the social system, so he is looking for that kind of place where he could live his life with absolute peace and solace, without any kind of external disturbance. Right? So this poem has been influenced from Robinson Crusoe, which is a novel by Daniel Defoe, and Crusoe is a character in that novel, which was written in 1719. And Crusoe, by using Crusoe as an archetype in his writing, he explores the themes of colonialism, alienation and creation of new hybrid culture in the Caribbean. So as I told you that this poem has been influenced by this novel, and the poem also begins with an epigraph from the novel Robinson Crusoe. What is this epigraph? Epigraph is a kind of short quotation or saying which tells you about the major theme of that particular work. And you can understand the major theme of the particular work by reading this epigraph, which has been taken from Robinson Crusoe, which is a novel by Daniel Defoe. In that epigraph, Robinson Crusoe, which novel has been written by Daniel Defoe, and Daniel Defoe says in that novel, which has been used as an epigraph by this poet Derek Walcott in his poem Crusoe's journal, I looked now upon the world as a thing remote, which I had nothing to do with, no expectation from, and indeed no desires about. In a world I had nothing indeed to do with it, nor was ever like to have. So I thought it looked as we may perhaps look upon it hereafter, viz. As a place I had lived in, but was come out of it. And well might I say, as Father Abraham to Dives, between me and thee is a great gulf fixed. So this is very important line. He has taken some, references from religious texts, from some other, kind of texts, but he gives his message clearly that when he sees his past, when he thinks about his past life which he was living in England with people, with society, and he sees that there was no meaning in that life was not satisfactory, and he says that now he is living on that island all alone, without any external disturbance. And he says that there is a difference, there is a big gulf. Gulf means gap, difference between the life he has been living there and the life he is living here now on that island. So when we talk about Crusoe, you need to remember, these lines, you need to understand these lines. When we talk about Crusoe's life, Crusoe actually, as in the novel Robinson Crusoe, Crusoe leaves his house. He is not happy with his family because family has lot of expectations from him, and he doesn't want to fulfill those expectations. He is not in that position, so he leaves his house. And after leaving his house, his shipwrecked, and he, by accidentally, he reaches on an deserted island. And on that island, there was no one to disturb him. So, in the same way, the narrator of this poem, he wants to live like Crusoe. First, he feels sorry for Crusoe because of his loneliness and hard struggles to survive on that island. First, he feels sorry for him. He thinks about Crusoe, but then he thinks that at the same time, he also admires that sort of life, like Crusoe. Why? Because he thinks that he wants to live on that imaginary island, and where nobody would be there to disturb him. And he thinks that there will be no one to disturb him, and he should be the master of everything on that island. Whatever would be there, he would be the master of that everything. Right? So it shows his attention, spirit of colonization. He wants to capture that land. He wants to be the master of that land. Right? He thinks about that kind of life, and he says that he should have basic things on that island with Bible, for comfort and guidance. So the narrator also shows his religious instinct. So as I told you that he thinks about that and about an imaginary isolated and deserted island, and because he is not happy with the current life. Symbolically, it shows that we all are not happy with the current state, with the social order, with the system of the society, which is full of chaos and conflict. So we also want to escape from that kind of life. Sometimes we also want to, leave that kind of place. So in the same way, the narrator of this poem, Crusoe's Journal, does the same thing. Because he says that there is a difference between what we actually want, and what our society expects from us. There is a difference. आपकी society आपसे कुछ और expect करती है, and you want to do something different. So there is a contradiction. So because of that contradiction, sometimes you get disappointed. Sometimes you get rejected. Sometimes you feel, sad, right? So, in the same way, the narrator of the poem feels such kind of disappointment, unhappiness. So he says that, there is in another in other lines he says, the lines of the poem, he says that we all are bearing a mask of happiness, discipline, mask of civilized person, and other social and moral values which are foregrounded by the society to follow. Means that actually we are not happy, but we are showing other that we are happy. We need to appear in society that we are happy. Actually, we don't want to be a very civilized person. What? We need to show public, we need to show society that we are very civilized, because society expects from us that kind of thing. Right? You need to note down all these points. And to avoid all these things, to avoid all such kinds of mask which we are wearing, the mask of fakeness, shams, hypocrisy, the poet, the narrator wants to avoid, narrator wants to live that kind of life. He doesn't want to live that kind of life, but he wants to live away from that kind of, situation, that kind of place, that kind of social life. So, in this way, the poet exposes the illness and vices of modern society, which the people are bearing, the mask of false faces, false impression on their faces, right? Which actually, they are not happy, but they are showing that they are happy. So there is a difference. So that's what the poet tells you. So the poet, like Crusoe, expresses, poet, or you can say the narrator expresses his desire to live a life like Crusoe lived on an island without any external disturbance. He wants to be, wants to be on that island without any kind of external disturbances. So you need to remember all these points. Then what are the major themes of this poem? Exposes, as the poet exposes, the illness and evils of society. What are the bad things in the society? He exposes all those things. Then the narrator desires to live a solitary life. He wants to live alone. Survival and self-reliance. He wants to, when he leaves that place, leaves that society and will live on that isolated island, he needs to survive there. Colonialism, as I told you, that he wants to be the master of that island, master of everything which is there on that island. So that shows the spirit of colonialism. Misanthropy means that you hate mankind, you hate society, you hate people, religion and faith. He has also given you the references of Bible and all. So these are the major themes. You need to note down all these things on your notebook and then remember those things. So in conclusion, we can say that the poet discusses about the evils, the falseness, the fakeness, the hypocrisy of modern society, and wants to stay away from that society. So that's all about this poem. This is the main idea. You need to remember, you need to note down all these things, and need to understand all these things, and I'm sure that it will help you. So thank you so much for watching and listening me, and we will meet again with another video. Till then, bye bye, take care. Thank you so much.